जाने क्या होगा क्या पता इस पल को मिलके आज ही ले जरा मैं हूँ यहाँ तू है यहाँ मेरी बाहों में आ भी जा ओ जाने जा दोनों जहाँ मेरी बाहों में आ भूल जा
Always collect a receipt when you purchase goods or services. It is your only proof of purchase if you have any legitimate reason to claim a return or refund. Be a smart consumer. Demand your rights. It is the law. A message from the Guyana Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission, CCAC, protecting consumers from unfair suppliers. Call CCAC on 219-4410 or visit their website ccac.gov.gy for more information and like them on Facebook. CCAC, protecting consumers' rights.
Win big this Christmas with a Digicel Prime bundle. Over $20 million in prizes to be won. The more you chat, watch, share, and dance to your favorite Digicel apps, the more chances you have to win. Thousands of shake-to-win prizes, including laptops, tablets, smartphones, cash, data, and credit. Enter to win the grand prize of $5,000 US, a trip for two, or a Samsung Galaxy S21. We are all winners with guaranteed win days. Play along. Buy a Prime bundle in My Digicel to stream and win today with Digicel this Christmas.
This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good evening, welcome to this evening's newscast on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith. Let's get to the news in detail. The Ministry of Amerindian Affairs last year not only sole-sourced the purchase of 112 tractors and trailers for Amerindian villages and communities on the basis of market research and not competitive bidding. The checks were drawn up for payment even before a contract was signed. The state of affairs was documented in the Auditor General Report for 2021, covering a period when the now fraud-accused Permanent Secretary Sharon Hicks was the accounting officer for that ministry and would have been responsible for such contracts. The Auditor General found that 6 transactions amounting to the contract sum of $446.8 million were processed on 30th and 31st of December 2020, while the checks were drawn on January 4th, 2021. As such, it would mean that Hicks cut the checks for the contractor before signing the contract in order to ensure that the monies would not have to be returned to the consolidated fund. Auditor General Deodat Sharma has flagged the ad hoc procurement of COVID-19 supplies by the Ministry of Public Health and Civil Defense Commission for the period March 2020 to August 2020. Sharma said a review was conducted on the procurement process used, the storage and accounting for items purchased and gifts received, and the distribution of hampers. He said this was done to determine whether the activities were done in compliance with relevant laws, regulations, guidelines, and international best practice. But following this audit, the AG noted that a total of 18 contracts valued at over $424 million were awarded before approval was received from NPTAB. He stressed that this is not keeping with the nation's laws. Health Ministry's officials explained that with the reports of the coronavirus, Guyana was put on notice to be in a state of readiness in the event that the coronavirus impacts Guyana in the near future. International lawyer Melinda Janke submitted to the EPA that ESSO, which will be undertaking the Yellowtail project in Guyana's waters, must first get its environmental impact assessment right before permits are granted. In her submissions to the EPA, Janki, an international lawyer of over 30 years, said it is clear that the assessment produced by ERM, the consultant hired by Exxon, contains conclusions that are contrary to science, gives assurances that are unsupported by evidence, and lacks the technical and other data necessary to provide an adequate professional assessment of the environmental impacts of the proposed Yellowtail project. Janki did not only make submissions based on her opinion and personal knowledge, but also included independent reviews from international experts in the field. One such person who gave the reviews was Dr. Eric Cordes. Dr. Cordes' report states that sections of the assessment reviewed by him are missing critical information that is required to make an informed decision. In other news, economic growth across the world has stagnated, if not retrogressed, in some parts of the world. This has led to escalating inflation rates globally, which has left many with high debt portfolios, such as Guyana, exposed to the risk of defaulting on repayments. This was the stark warning handed to world leaders on Thursday when UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who in his final address for the year, observed that at the end of a difficult year, while advanced economies are able to mobilize nearly 28% of their gross domestic product into economic recovery, for middle-income countries, that number fell to 6.5%. And even worse, it plummeted to 1.8% for the least developed countries, a tiny percentage of a very small amount. Successive administrations in Guyana, when confronted with concerns about the level of the country's debt, have pointed to the sustainability of its repayments. The country's debts, however, have in the recent past been coming under intense scrutiny, with as much as a third of this year's budget being financed through loans. And with that, we've come to the end of this evening's newscast. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening. Do have a wonderful, safe, and enjoyable rest of the weekend.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's Newscast.